Hey everyone, in today's episode, I'll discuss the best suburbs on a budget. It's an interesting topic because a lot of people do message me and ask me, what can I spend if I've got a lower budget? So that's what exactly what I'm going to answer today. So in today's episode, I'll discuss what is considered a low budget, what is the minimum you can borrow, which regions make most sense, and then the suburbs themselves. Let's get into it. What's considered a low budget? So look, in Australia itself, anything under 70,000 for a single person is considered low, and anything under 120 for a couple is considered low. Now look, I'll be straight here. To get in the market, you're going to need at least $70,000 saved. So keep that in mind as I go through this episode. Minimum borrowing capacity required. So look, I've done this really simply. This is just with CommBank's actual borrowing power calculator. And mind you, funny enough, this is before those interest rate cuts would have actually priced into CommBank and this actual calculator. So this rate could even be a little bit lower and it's probably a little bit higher borrowing now. But you'll see here, I've just done a standard property. This is the absolute cheapest I can find as well. 45,000 a year income. You've got 70,000 roughly saved. And realistically, 420 a week is achievable. So that's the minimum numbers I'm going off. So this is achievable for even people on $45,000 a year. Look, which regions make most sense? So I've opened this up a little bit because for everyone, not everyone likes purchasing in particular states. I know some people are anti-Victoria, despite me saying it is the best place presently to buy. But the regions that make most sense really for a lower budget is Geelong, Melbourne, Newcastle, and some suburbs in both Perth and the Central Coast. Let's get into some suburbs. Look, I've previously mentioned this suburb, but for under 500k, the best suburb I think you can buy in Australia really is Corio. Look, for those that don't know where Corio is, it's in North Geelong. It's about 10-15 minutes, depending on the traffic, north of the Geelong CBD. It is mostly brick veneer homes, and it was built mostly kind of in anywhere between the late 50s or about the 70s, most of the Corio estate. A lot of the homes, the newer ones anyway, do look like this, and you do still pick them up for sort of your mid 400s right through about 500k quite consistently. A bunged up one, don't get me wrong, you will purchase even for 400 sometimes, but obviously for someone on a low budget, you probably don't have the savings to actually renovate that. But you can get one that will genuinely rent. I mean, perfectly fine for 450 to 500,000. Just be a little bit careful because some pockets of Corio aren't that good. But despite a lot of the noise, and if you want to Google or anything like that, you might see a lot of, lower socioeconomic people here, which you will see if you if you happen to Google anything like that. But despite the noise, some pockets have performed very well. So here's just an example of one of those pockets. So 67,000 in 96, 555,000 in 2023. So just short 2 years ago. So look, if you want to do calculations, it's around a touch over 8% capital growth, that alone, which is pretty good, even though a lot of people do have a bit of a stigma about it. So don't get caught up in noise. A lot of areas have performed very well. And if you buy in the right pocket, of Corio, there's definitely some good opportunity here. So definitely consider Corio for under 500,000. Let's go for under 600,000. I know, again, this is stretching that budget again. And the suburb I'm going to mention is North Geelong. So look, North Geelong itself is more than 600,000 in terms of median. But I'm telling you, I do see regularly properties that you can lease out for under 600k. Now, are they the best properties? Are you in total? No. But can you find ones that are structurally sound and rentable? Yes. And you can probably add value in the future, which is where you make a lot of money too, on top of capital growth. So you can pick these up for under 600 grand. I've even seen quite a good brick veneer one on a block recently, sell for I think 580. And that was turnkey, basically good to go. So that was on nearly 600 meters squared, believe it or not, too. And most blocks here are only about sort of your low 400s, late 300s if you buy in the sort of that inner area, North Geelong. But there's definitely some options there. But really, North Geelong is cheap in a very expensive pocket. So if you can see where it says Geelong West here, North Geelong is basically the suburb just north of that. And look, Geelong West is pretty much your best capital growth suburb of all of Geelong. And I'm telling you right now, you get properties selling there for like literally $1.5 million and above, even sometimes. So, I mean, all the suburbs around it are pretty much more expensive. You've got Rippleside and Drumcondra right next to it there in that blank sort of street-looking patch there too, which are around $1 million as well. So, I mean, you're very cheap in North Geelong here, 100%. You can't really go wrong buying long-term here. It'll do very well, 100%. Let's get into under 700,000. I previously mentioned this in a previous video, and that suburb is Nollamara. So look, Nollamara is basically just north of the Perth CBD, not overly far, but really Nollamara, it's actually an older suburb. You'll find most suburbs in Perth that are sub 700,000 that you can pick up are newer suburbs or very outer suburbs. But Nollamara is actually a suburb where the estate's been there for a number of decades now, so you actually have quite a longer term resident population, which is good because you'll find that a lot of these sort of newer suburbs are on the mortgage belt, meaning that a lot of people are mortgaged with high LVRs. Nollamara has quite a decent percentage, especially for Perth, that own their properties outright or have very low mortgages because they're longer term residents. So another thing on top of that is your household median income is very high for the present mortgages you have here. So this is just off census. Weekly household median income is $1,492. Your median monthly mortgage repayments is only $1,582. So that is well below the 30% rule of mortgages, being that you shouldn't spend any more than 30% gross of your income servicing your mortgage. Mind you, in saying that, this is in 2021. So right now, this number would be significantly higher in terms of probably both, but your median monthly household income would be very significant compared to it, and probably even still showing that there's more in the tank. So definitely something to consider there. Let's get into under 800,000. And I find this insane to actually mention that this is still under 800,000 because it's in Melbourne and it's only about 10 or so Ks, 10 or 11 Ks from the CBD. And that suburb is Braybrook. Now, look, for those that don't know Braybrook, it was previously known as the Bronx of Sydney. Of Melbourne. So pretty much before the early 2000s, Braybrook had about 60% or so of public housing, but most of that has been sold off. That number today is about somewhere between 17 and 19, and about 8 to 10% of that alone is actually aged public housing. So it doesn't actually look bad or feel bad if you're in and around it. It's just very quiet, and it's just your old brick veneer sort of home. So it's actually quite nice there, funny enough, and peaceful. It's not like your real dodgy housing estate, and they're actually selling off even more of those original real dodgy estates, and they're keeping the part they're selling off is actually a dodgy part, and the part they're keeping is the aged housing. So it's actually changing the suburb a lot. But in Braybrook alone, there's a lot of townhouses going up. Quite nice. You don't really have any issues with them as well. You got a lot of the young professionals moving in. And really, the reason that's happening is because it's a part of the regeneration project for the Victorian government. So this is just off the government's actual website. So you'll see where it's going. Pretty much this suburb is going to completely gentrify in the next probably 10 or 15 years. It has rejuvenated completely. It's actually done more than literally 9.8% long-term despite that as well, but it's going to continue going, and it will actually start to gentrify now because the nature of the suburb is completely changing. Just have a drive through it if you don't believe me. Really good suburb. I personally hit this area up quite hard for investors who want to buy in Melbourne for sort of that 800k-ish or so budget. You still do get homes as well on blocks here, which is quite difficult for Melbourne. But anyway, Braybrook's definitely a suburb to consider under 800,000. Let's get into under 900k. And look, I'll mention an area I do love buying, and it is in New South Wales for those that don't like or do want to buy in New South Wales under $1 million. And that suburb is Mayfield. So for those that don't know Mayfield, look, it's basically inner western suburb of Newcastle. And it was previously considered quite a derelict area, an area where a lot of kind of your wharfies and a lot of your working class, particularly those who worked at the old BHP plant, used to live. But the area has completely changed. And the main reason for that is, first of all, affordability, but also your walk score and livability. So this is just two photos here, and one is of the main town centre. It's like a sort of plaza sort of town centre. You do have a lot of shops there, a lot of cafes, Coles, Woolworths, pretty much everything you could want. You'd have even sort of healthcare like physio, chiro, all of that's in town now. And you can see that just from the walk score. So around the CBD, you can just see the Pacific Highway, Hanbury Street and Vine Street, where those main roads intersect, where that sort of T section is, or X section, should I say. That's a walk score of like 90 out of 100. So you're not really getting that in many areas that are under $1 million anymore, particularly if there's a good income. But Mayfield has that. So just something to consider. Definitely if you have under 900K, definitely consider Mayfield. That number, mind you, is going like hot fire. That will not stay for very long. So definitely if you're thinking about it, reach out, because I can definitely help you and get you in the right pocket of Mayfield as well. Look, the final area I'm going to do is under $1 million. And I know we're getting to an area where I guess you could say it's not really on a budget anymore, but really, like for a couple that's probably earning maybe 130 to 150,000 a year, which is probably not exactly on a budget, but I guess you could still say so if you wanted to invest. You definitely could afford here. But this suburb really is incredible, and I don't know how it's still under $1 million, but that suburb is Kensington in Melbourne. So look, Kensington's only about 3 or 4 Ks from the Melbourne CBD. It's sort of in the inner northwest pocket, right next to Ascot Vale and right next to as well Flemington. It is pretty much right next to North Melbourne as well, so it's very close to the CBD. South Kensington Station is only a few stops actually from Southern Cross, so really, really close to CBD as well. But it's actually quite low density in terms of, should I say, the homes there. Most of them are either your terraces or your single-fronted Victorians like this. And really, look, Kensington is just its location. You can see here, it's incredible, but the demographics as well are insane. So you'll just see here, median weekly household income, again, $22.16 a week, monthly mortgage repayments, $21.62. So they earn more a week than their mortgage is monthly. So that should tell you all you need to know. And this is also a very sort of low mortgage area in terms of a lot of people own their homes outright or have very low mortgages here. Look, to be honest, this area will double in 10 years, 100%. I have almost no doubt about that. You're still picking up even homes that are literally detached on, like they're smaller blocks, but original blocks for like $1 million here, which is incredible. So look, I don't see anywhere better really than Kensington to buy for under $1 million in the whole country. So if that is your budget, definitely consider that. Look, I'm getting to the end of this episode, but I just want to thank everyone for watching. And for those really serious about getting into the property market, please reach out via www.compoundinvest.com.au. And please as well, if you are really serious and you do actually want to take it to the next level, sign up for Premier Properties via the website. You do have to actually sign another form from that, but sign up there and you will get the form sent to you and we can go from there. But again, please subscribe to the channel, everyone who enjoys my content. Comment below what you want to see, and I thank you again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.